We're live. So, hi everyone. My name's Ian. I'm the founder of Travel Massive, and we're here with Rama Poola, the co-founder of SkyHi, for a very special Travel Massive live webinar interview. If you tuned into our live series a couple of weeks ago for our startup pitches, Rama was one of the startups that pitched in that demo session, and he was awarded the winner by our judge, Kevin Ashoknase from Dublin Travel Massive. And we invited Rama back to chat to us a little bit more in depth about SkyHi and what he's working on. So we're going to cover a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey of SkyHi. Obviously, at the moment, you might have heard that SkyHi is raising investment via crowdfund called Republic. So we're keen to kind of explore that. And also just explore a little bit more about the subscription model. So SkyHi is a subscription model service, and I think it's something that's unique especially in the flight search space in tourism. So I think that there's a lot of interesting questions that we can ask Rama about that. So over to you, Rama. Just give us a little bit of a background about yourself and just a quick overview about SkyHi.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for having me, Ian. Always grateful to talk to you. You know, I've been a technologist my whole life. So helped build a tech startup out in New York. Wasn't one of the founders, but early employee, helped build that up to about 50 employees. And in 2013, we ended up selling it to a very large electronic dance music company, which made me the VP of product for a company called Beatport to help lead a company in sort of the music space for a while, and just happened to be on a lot of planes with empty seats. I was flying around, visiting team members, interviewing DJs, and just on a lot of planes with empty seats. So some of the idea for SkyHi was lodged in my brain then, whether I knew it or not. And in late 2015, I actually happened to be in Berlin, about to fly back to New York. And I was just talking to a group of travelers at the airport that didn't have tickets to anywhere. They were waiting for something to fall under 50 euro, and they ended up getting flights to Lisbon. And I boarded my plane back home, which was very empty. And it kind of just bothered me that I was seeing this a lot. And I started just kind of noting down my travel behavior, my parents' travel behavior, my close friends, and started to see some shifts in behavior patterns. And so in 2016, really started this journey down this path to build SkyHi, you know, a product to really change how people access planes, really by tapping into new behavior patterns. So we launched this as a subscription service where it's $199 a month. You can fly up to 5 times per month. Those are one-way flights. And every ticket is a fixed price point. So prices never fluctuate on you know, day to day or hour to hour like they do on other sites. Up to 1,000 miles is always $35. Up to 2,000 miles is always $75. And up to 3,000 miles is always $120. And that really allows a member to, you know, not think about the pricing, but just where they want to go and what time they want to get there, and you know, airline preference and whatnot. And allows them to get a flight very fast. We can issue a ticket in about a minute. So really streamlining that to get people to explore more. And here we are.
So I might jump in, and thanks for the introduction about SkyHi. I want to actually just go. I guess I'm curious about how you made that step from thinking about the idea to actually deciding to implement it, because that's kind of sounds like a small step, but that's actually kind of a giant leap, especially if I understand you hadn't really been involved in the travel industry. And, you know, for those of us who have been involved for many years, you know, it's very easy to understand a lot of the sort of the tech stack of the travel industry. But how did you kind of pick up speed and learn that? And then maybe just also just explain to us how where you started out with TechStars, because I think that's sort of interesting.
Yeah, totally. Making the leap for me, I mean, it was more of a, a mental, spiritual journey to make sure that I was going to feel okay and grounded. But, in my past, I've just been really aware of inefficiencies in various markets, and this is working with my old company. And it always bothered me when there were inefficiencies. So I'm just I'm a very logical brain. So that bugs me. So I think for me, it was more of, there's something going on here that I think is new. And I think what I was noticing is that I was booking flights more last minute. So within the 2-week range, I was booking more one-way flights, which was very different than I was doing earlier in my life. So I think that sparked that part of my brain going, there's something here to explore. So making that leap for me was more of just tackling another inefficiency I was seeing. Just this time around, I wasn't doing it with my previous company where I had, sort of support of other, team members and whatnot. It was more of, can I explore this industry enough to get an understanding if this can be a real sustainable product? And it was, really digging with my co-founder who happens to be my cousin. And we had always, over the course of our careers, been helping each other out on the tech side, and and looking at various markets and cool things that we could do. And when I was speaking with him, we just went straight to whiteboarding. How could this work? Like, what is the software architecture around it? What is a rough business plan? What is, we started digging on, financial modeling on how this could work. So the leap was really more of that exploration of figuring out some of those pieces. Little did we know that, you mentioned, we didn't have a background in the travel space. So some of the sort of the underlying tech stacks that are very outdated in the travel space, we just didn't know about. We didn't know what we were going to be integrating in with. We just knew from a software architecture perspective, this is how we could do it. And it wasn't until we were deep into, our first year of building this where we recognized this is going to be a bit more challenging than we thought. Not just on the tech stack side, and finding the partners. There's also a lot of legal stuff. We work with a great law firm out here in America, which has some expertise in the airline space. And there are regulations all the way down to the size of the font that we need to have on the mobile app to be in compliance with certain things. So those are things we did not know. It was just along the way we had to find out. And I'm grateful that we found out sort of each hurdle, in the process on the way, and we just kind of went over that next wall, as opposed to having everything up front. And because that may have deterred us. And I think talking to other travel startups and founders, I know that is a deterrent to some people, and that it's just it's a tough space to break into because of legacy software, as well as sort of legacy regulations.
Did you find that, obviously, thinking about it now, do you think you could have built SkyHi without having a technical background? I mean, did that help?
It helped immensely. Yeah, I mean, this is the only way I know how we built this, is because we have a particular skill set. But I think in general, and this is also talking to other startup founders that are in the travel space that do not have a technical background, some of the challenges that they have, it can get expensive because you're working with consulting companies to try to work through that, or it can just be, a lot of time. So I think that did help us a great deal, because we just knew that, when we're going into, say, integrating in with this, with a, an API where it's a SOAP interface, we knew that, okay, that's a no-go for us. We need to find something that's RESTful, so at least we can, build something quicker. Like, we just knew that off the bat, right? And that's just high level of the very tip of the, the underlying tech that was going into it. But I think it does help. And honestly, just as a startup founder in general, like having someone on your technical team, whether it's a co-founder or early employee, like if you're building a tech company, it is very helpful to have that knowledge.
Yep. So I want to ask you through a few kind of quick questions. Let's sort of bring everyone up to speed on SkyHi, and then we can kind of dive into a little bit more about the Republic crowdfunding that you're doing, which I think is really interesting because certainly I haven't seen really another travel startup raise capital through this method, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening in are kind of quite curious about this approach. But just quickly, we'll run through a few things, short answers. So how big is the team with SkyHi?
It's 4 full-time and 1 consultant right now. It's a small team. That includes me and my co-founder.
Yep. And are you going to need to grow the team to scale SkyHi?
Yeah, we do want to grow the team. In particular, we could use, another developer or two. We're all pretty slammed. Someone focused on data is also interesting. We have a lot of really interesting data. And then we're getting into the biz dev side with airlines and whatnot. So we've got some roles we would like to fill.
And so SkyHi is now currently based in Los Angeles. Do you want to maybe share why you put your you're kind of a travel tech startup in LA?
Yeah, totally. So I was in New York for 16 years before moving to LA. So New York raised me basically in my college through career. And my co-founder was in Oakland. So we were building this the first year and a half, 2 years on just across the coasts. And what we started to notice was the LA tech scene. I don't know how many of you on the call are in LA. It's really great. Like not the culture around the tech scene, as well as the investors that are out here. And in general, there's a lot of support around businesses that are building consumer brands. Whereas New York and even San Francisco didn't feel quite like that. There are a lot of cool consumer brands coming out of here, and that gives you support from like PR to different marketing agencies to even just like meetups where there are that's the majority. So I think just the climate around the growing tech scene here and the investment here, as well as just that type of support, drew us to LA.
And a little bit about the sort of the tech side, and I'm sure a lot of people here, and I had a look at who was joining us on the webinar, are very tech focused and probably have a lot more technical questions than me. But just in general, tell us what is the app developed in? Quick answer on that.
Sure. Yeah. The app itself, it's React Native. We developed in that so we can compile down to Android and to iOS. The backend is Ruby, Ruby, and then just hosted on Amazon. So,
Okay. There's no website version for SkyHi. That's probably a strategic reason, but just to confirm. So it's app only.
It's app only. Website is really just for like account management, but it's app only. We want people using this on the go. That's really just the device that people use more.
Yep. And with your with the current tech stack that you've got, and we'll probably get into this a little bit more into the interview, but how quickly can you plug in a new airline into the stack that you've developed?
It kind of depends on the airline. Like for us, our API is pretty robust and handles everything from once an airline is plugged in into sort of everything we need to show and search and issue tickets and whatnot. But each of those airlines have their own pluses and minuses. So it can take as short as 1 month to up to 3 months. And we're a small team, so we do the best we can on that. But yeah, it depends on the really the API side of those airlines.
Yep. And I guess some general sort of questions people might have, what's the typical customer of SkyHi?
Yeah.
Can you describe them?
Yeah, totally. We actually just published some of this data on the Republic site yesterday. So there's some charts and stuff you can take a look at. What we are seeing is really 3 growing sort of demographics of this type of customer. The majority really fall into like about a 25 to 40-year-old age range, happen to be, you know, this is coming from interviews as well as, you know, just seeing behaviors that tend to be like, you know, young professionals that have somewhat flexible jobs, really taking some weekend trips. And that really is what we hypothesized, that we were going to have a lot of that. Really, people like myself, like you, Ian,
Yep.
you know, we're mobile, we get to do cool things and want to have experiences. We're also seeing some small businesses, several employees of a company, you know, a B2B offering is in our roadmap. Just a matter of when that makes sense for us. But people are using it as essentially, businesses are using it essentially as consumers, individual members. And then we're seeing retirees. That's been an interesting market for us to watch. You know, have time, you know, have some disposable income, and also travel pretty predictably to certain locations, assuming to see family members. So that's been a cool one for us. And honestly, like not too many startups market towards retirees, and not that we're really doing that just yet, but it's a cool option for us to try to capture some of that market.
This flows into my next question, and actually Sayo in the chat is sort of one step ahead of me. But how did you get your first customer? And my question then is, how did you get to 100 customers?
Yeah, totally. You know, when we very first launched, we did a closed beta, and we did it with sort of an invite process where people would sort of fill out an application, and then, you know, we wanted to make sure they were in a city that we offer, and, you know, we were testing a couple of hypotheses, so then we would give them an invite code, and through that, we actually still have some people on board, you know, from that invite code. So it's a sticky product, people stay. You know, that was the first part of it. We found that to be really challenging, actually, because it's hard to get people to first of all, just apply to something. And then once you give them the code, to actually go through and make the purchase, right? So, you know, once we had some answers around our hypotheses, we, you know, we opened it up. And getting to 100, you know, what we found and what we still push on here is that, you know, in general, the travel space is an expensive place to just put up ads and try to get consumers to purchase, right? You have the big players, you know, in kayaks and the others that are spending billions of dollars, right, on ads to get people to purchase, whether it's hotel tickets or plane tickets. So we wanted to go down a path of how do we get our customers talking about this and inviting their friends. So we have a referral program built right into the app. So, you know, you can refer somebody and you get a credit on your account and they get a credit on their account. And then we really went down the path of striking meaningful partnerships. We have a partnership with WeWork. So really had, you know, the largest co-working, you know, network in the world, where a lot of our customers could be. And then we have, you know, we have a few others where we have, you know, offers that help people get on board with a slight discount for the first few months, so that they can try it out and join. And what we're finding, and this was also published in that data yesterday, is that more than 50% of our customers come through a referral code of some kind. So we know that these types of partnerships and the people that are on board, it is effective in getting new people on. So that's really how we got to our first 100, was just let our customers find them.
Referral, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, well, actually, I was referred to SkyHi by, it was John Matson from Voyager.
Yeah, that's right.
We met at a Focusrite conference, and then I think I discovered it, and I was so curious, and I had to, I think had a flight from Miami back to New York, and I decided that I was going to kind of try it out. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, I can say that referrals work, obviously. On your Republic page, with some of the partners, you also mentioned that you're working with some Instagrammers, and that's a really interesting thing, that you know, working with influencers. Is that working out for you, or is it sort of just very early days with that?
You know, some of it's working great, some of it's a little challenging. I think it comes down to, you know, the reason why we went down this path is we have part of our path in marketing is going down this way, is that we have we have a product that people want to talk about. You know, it gets them to have experiences more. It's really easy. It's like once you start using this, it's hard to go back to trying to book on regular sites. So we have something that people want to tell stories around. And that's what we really wanted. How do we get storytellers to talk about getting places and the things that they're doing? And we are enabling that. So we went down that path. And I think it's really just been, who are the right people? Who are the audiences that they're hitting, and sort of experimenting with that, trying some people out that are deep in the entertainment space, trying people that are, more like fashion, type influencers, trying people that are in the travel community as influencers, and trying to see who they're hitting and how they convert. So, it is part of our strategy, and we're still learning and growing and tweaking. But we have that as almost a differentiator for us versus some other travel startups out there.
Talking about differentiating, I have a question here for you, which is, why do you think that the travel industry is so obsessed with metasearch?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I'm tired of metasearch, honestly. Like I find that when I'm on things, trying to search for things, and I never really find the right flight or hotel or whatnot. There's too much information. And we see this, right? I'm just going to talk about the look to book ratio for a second, right? Which is outrageous. It's 1,000 to 1 right now on average, and it's trending much higher over the next 5 years. Some articles say it's going up to like 10,000 to 1. There's just so many things. There's so many searches. There's so many ways to find things. It almost makes it crippling to actually book something. Our look to book ratio is about 250 to 1. So it's much quicker. You're not thinking about things as much. Really, because you're not thinking about pricing, right? That's the number one thing people think about in searching, is what the price is. Can I get a deal tomorrow? Should I wait another week? Those types of games. So I think it just has been the norm that people have that as their tool. I think now what we're offering is a new tool that may change people's behavior.
And so maybe this is an interesting segue into subscriptions. As far as you, I know that there are subscription services, like Scott's Cheap Flights. They're more around subscribing to deals, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of subscription sort of stuff happening, but are you the first, I guess we're going to call SkyHi an OTA at the moment, but are you the first OTA to offer a subscription service for flight booking?
I think in this capacity, yes. There have been sort of some other attempts at it. The models have been slightly different. And obviously some airlines have tried it, right? JetBlue many years ago had their, all you can fly pass, but we're the first to offer this over really any airline or many airlines. I should take back the any. There are some that are not on the platform, but and over this many regions, we have over 5,000 routes that we offer, and our price points are exactly the same every time. There's no fluctuation other than those three price points: $35, $75, or $120. So in the type of subscription that we're doing, we are definitely the first to make this kind of offering.
And on that note of sort of the subscription tiers, I know that you've changed the model, you've tweaked the model a little bit, mm-hmm. since I've been a customer. Yeah. I think you added, you changed the parameters a little bit. Do you think that I guess, do you see there being different kinds of subscriptions that people will be able to have, or are you trying to sort of really just lock it down to only a couple of different options?
Yeah, we know there will be additional ones, right? We started with this one because we needed to, have something out in the market, understand consumer behavior, and, just doing a lot of financial modeling around this and working with, our really awesome airline advisors and understanding this this industry, we knew that this could be successful, right? This one particular type of plan, but it also allows us to understand consumer behavior to know what our future plans. I see in the question side is, will you offer a business class in the future? Yes, that will be, you know, likely a different tier or a different type of add-on. But having a base allows us to explore those, you know, up market or down market, different regions and whatnot, transatlantic, which we don't offer just yet, things like that. And honestly, I find that there are a lot of startups that, you know, the pricing model is incredibly important to understand and to, you know, as a startup founder, right? And I do see other startups that play around with it almost too much, where you're not getting meaningful data enough to actually make smart decisions. And for us, you know, putting one out there and really understanding our demographics, how we're growing it, how we're getting customers on, allows us to understand how we're going to expand it.
On that note of subscriptions, is obviously, and I know we can't go into too much detail, but people who unsubscribe, do you have, you know, some strategies around how to try to like actually reduce people unsubscribing?
Yeah, totally. So with the service right now, it's $199 a month to be a member, and you can book your flights if you're a member. If you choose to leave, you can. We charge you a $99 fee to join again. You know, we sort of just waive that the very first time. And if you're not going to use it for a few months, we allow you to put it on hold for $35 a month. And we're finding that to be pretty effective. You know, to keep people, you know, some people won't travel for a month or two, and at least this allows them to still be in the ecosystem. And what we're also finding is that, you know, this is an app that you've got to experience to understand why it matters. You know, we get questions of people sort of doing price comparisons or like, oh, I don't travel enough or whatnot. But what we're finding is that once people sort of hit a 3-month mark, they get it. They do travel more. They have experiences. They understand how simple it is. They ordered, you know, their tickets as they're waiting for their coffee to be made at Starbucks. Like those things reduce so much friction, you know? So it's really about, for us, like providing them the value to hit that point where they get it, you know?
So some people in watching the webinar might have a question about, you know, do they need to actually kind of sign up and pay to test it out? You can actually install the app and explore the routes and the options before you subscribe. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, you can sign up, and then you can see all the routes. You can see all the flights. You just need to be a member to book. That was really, you know, a strategic decision, right? We want people to play around with it. It's so different, you know, than anything else out there. So, you know, getting people comfortable with it and then allowing them to sign up when they're ready. And we see that in the behavior. We have people that have downloaded the app and installed it, you know, hundreds of days ago, and then they become a member, right? But throughout that time, they're poking around. They're doing searches. They're seeing if this will work for them. So yeah, feel free to do that.
I'm going to share my screen now, and I want to kind of dive into your Republic crowdfund.
Sure.
So yeah, what made you decide to do this sort of crowdfund rather than sort of, I guess, the traditional, you know, going to angel investors and things like that?
Totally. So we'll preface that we have done other traditional types of investing as well. We do have, you know, angels that have invested. We have, you know, some angel groups that have invested. We've had some VCs that have invested. So, you know, we have that backing as well. What sort of guided us towards Republic was that we had customers reaching out wanting to invest, right? And we can't just take people's money. On some of our other investment vehicles, you have to be accredited investors. There were minimum check sizes, things like that. So we had customers reaching out, and we had other, you know, investors that didn't quite meet the accreditation guidelines that also wanted to invest. So it led us down this route of exploring this and just talking to other startups that have done it and talking to the Republic team. What we believe they would do well on this. It is a great platform for sort of consumer type products. And what we found is that it's been great to have customers become investors. And then it's also been great almost on the marketing front of what we were talking about before, referrals and whatnot. People now share about this more and talk about it more. And at the end of the day, we want more and more people to discover it and feel connected to it. And this was a path to that.
I mean, it's certainly impressive. It says here that you've reached, more than 700% of your minimum funding goal.
Yeah.
So I think looks like you're definitely going to crack, 200,000 by the end of the round. I'm curious, what's the main do you get an understanding of where those investors come from on Republic? And why they invested, or are they sort of just anonymous investors to you?
We do have sort of a dashboard that allows us to explore that. We know where they're from, and it allows them to write comments in on why they invested, and those have been really cool. Some of those are actually right within Republic on the reviews tab there, and we highlight some of those in some of our weekly updates, and it's been cool. Like it is, there are. And it's a new product in this space, and people are excited to see something very different in travel. And in reality, there are so many people that travel all the time. So it's, they get it. They get the struggles as well as, the need for something new. And it is one of those things that in the times of a booming economy and a recession, people still travel. It has some staying power in that. So there's just a lot of reasons why people come on board.
I'm just reading some of the reviews now while you're talking. I wonder if I can spot some Travel Massive members. But I guess another question that I've got is, the model of SkyHi, Republic, do they take a cut of what you raise? Is that's sort of the standard model?
Yeah. They take a little percentage on there. That stuff's, those details are available on the Republic site. They take a little cut of it for hosting it and managing it. Their team's great. It does take management to make this happen. And there's, there are things to do to even list. You have to go through particular audits. Since it's a public offering, with the SEC and like with others, you have to do certain filings. So it does take some work to get up there. Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of your capital raising, you've raised was 1.2 before the Republic. Mm-hmm. So this Republic will bring you up to 1.4 million in terms of how much you've raised. I guess standard question, what kind of runway is this going to give you? And do you have plans then for, say, a Series A? Or, are you more determined to, I guess, like bootstrap the business into profitability, with the funds that you've got at the moment?
Yeah, I think for us, a lot of this is, what do we need to grow this and get it in more people's hands? And, start to explore some of these new subscription models and whatnot. So there are goals that we want to hit, and this capital helps us get there. Early days we did bootstrap and got to, product, to the product to market, and now it's about growth and continued development and making those tweaks. As you mentioned before, we've refined the product over time. We've gotten through new regulations over time, which allows us to do that. So there's also constant development going on. So yeah, I mean, we do anticipate a Series A, in the imminent future. And yeah, that's how we need to push it.
Yep. Well, it's certainly a really sort of fascinating route to raise capital, and it's really awesome to sort of hear how you've done it. And I'm sure, a lot of people watching this video are going to probably, hit you up on Travel Massive or LinkedIn, sort of with some questions.
Totally.
I guess we're almost up to the 30 minutes before I want to open it up to our audience Q&A. But I guess, from my perspective, I'm going to put my customer hat on of SkyHi now. I mean, I really love SkyHi. When I've been in Europe and the US, I've used it a whole bunch. I think I've flown 20 segments using SkyHi. I've actually met members in Travel Massive through SkyHi. So, there are some cool stories that have sort of happened out of it. And, I mean, I love showing it off to people sort of in the travel industry that are in, this part of the industry, because it is very cool to be able to kind of like an Uber, just sort of tap and book, a flight without having to sift through, pages of sort of search results. But the thing that people always kind of come back and say to me is, they don't believe it. They can't wrap their heads around the subscription model, and they'll rattle off, things like, well, that's doomed to fail, or that's failed before, or they get the calculator out and they start trying to reverse engineer the SkyHi business model. But I guess the thing is, are you finding that resistance? Are you still finding that resistance from investors, that are really kind of can't bring themselves to believe that the subscription model can work?
Yeah. Yeah, we do have that resistance. I mean, honestly, raising money in travel is difficult in general, because it's an industry that a lot of VCs don't understand, and don't understand. The behavior patterns are different in travel than they are with watching movies, right? And on Netflix, like that stuff's different, and it's different than subscription box services, right? So you can't really take the same types of learnings from those and apply them in travel. And I think that's the first thing that is scary at times for investors. But what really pushed them to understand is that we're building something that has an experience that is changing the way people think about travel, right? And speaking about that, then people get it. When you think about subscription models in general, you think about the ones that have changed the way that you behave in the world. I don't go to Blockbuster anymore to rent movies, right? I mean, I know people that have never heard about Blockbuster right now, like that's the stuff that has changed industries. And so, in general, the financials work, right? We have proved that. We have recurring revenue. We have, I mean, a lot of that is now, public information on the Republic site. So you can go ahead and look for yourself. So that works, right? And we're starting to have more and more customers that stay long and longer amounts of time that tell us these stories, like you just did for meeting Travel Massive, people around Europe. That's the stuff that's sticky, right? And that's the stuff that makes subscription services work, when you're enabling people to have those things. So, that's the story we tell. And the more time we have, the more data we have, the more, stories we get from people, the more that case is real.
And the more you prove the naysayers wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So 30 minutes is up with our Q&A, and so let's dive into the chat and answer some questions from our audience. I think you answered a couple of them on the fly, but there's a question from Anna earlier on, and I think she asked, she was curious to know if you see a difference between app downloads and subscriptions on iOS versus Android.
Yeah, we do. I mean, iOS is still, the front runner here. And, we're operational in North America and Europe. And I believe there's some Android coverage in Europe, but iOS still is pretty dominant here. So we're seeing more of that.
Nicholas asked, and I think this probably is you can have a quick answer to this, but it's going to be on the website. But what cities do you service? And do you plan to offer international flights? Which obviously, if you are in Europe or you want to go from New York to Iceland, it is international. But
yeah,
you can give a better answer.
Totally. So all of our destinations, you can go to flyskyhi.com/destinations. You'll see everything that we offer, as well as just download the app and play around. You'll see all the destinations, the routes, the flights available. So we're operational in North America and Europe. So North America, you know, Canada, US, Mexico, and then in Europe, UK, and most of the EU, we have coverage. So we allow you to sort of fly within those regions. We don't take you transatlantic just yet. And, you know, we are still exploring that to make sure that that is something that's viable and we can make happen and you know, grow with that. As well as other regions like, you know, Asia and South America are real fast growing markets. And but we really wanted to concentrate and focus on a couple regions first, and then we can expand.
Ricardo, he asked, so obviously I don't think he has come across SkyHi before. He asked if you have revenue. Obviously you do, but where can he go to find some of those metrics?
Yeah, totally. We do. A lot of that is, again, public information. You can go to republic.co/SkyHi. There's a lot of information there about the product, you know, the financials. There's a lot of, you know, discussion there where we go into pretty lengthy depth to answer questions. So, you know, feel free to browse there. If you have any other questions, just hit me up on Travel Massive and I'll answer.
Anna asked if you have a full-time designer or if you contract with the designer through a marketplace.
So we did have a full-time designer for a long time, set up really the brand guidelines and you know, the iterations of the app and, you know, really our, the overall look and feel. And we still use a lot of those design guidelines as we add new features and whatnot.
Nicholas asked if he's a subscriber, can he book a flight for his wife too, or does she have to sign up as well? And how do they make sure that they're on the same flight?
Yeah, so it's individual memberships right now. So it would be yourself and your wife would each have to have a membership. And we have a lot of couples that do this, and they just book them side by side. You see their clicks on their app within seconds of each other to get on the same plane.
So we've got a question here about sustainability. So the question says, you know, on one side you're filling empty seats, which means less carbon footprint per person on the flight, but on the other side you're encouraging more frequent plane travel.
Yeah.
What's your stance on that? And will you offer easy monthly carbon offsets?
Totally. Yeah, this has been, you know, always something that we've always thought about. The reason why we started this is because we saw an inefficiency in the space. So we wanted to fill more empty seats. So that was goal number one, and we're doing that, right? But yes, we are encouraging more travel. People are going to have more experiences, which is great for them and honestly great for the world when people have more experiences like that. However, yes, it's adding, the carbon footprint is growing. So yes, we are looking at programs where we can do that, and we'd like to just build that right in to the subscription model, so we can offset that. We just haven't done it yet, but it is on our radar, and we want to be, you know, thoughtful about that.
So we've got a technical kind of question from Anna, which is pretty cool. So she's asking, you know, a lot of your customers are last minute travelers. What's your strategy for securing inventory and making sure it's available for those last minute travelers?
Yeah, totally. You know, some of this gets into just our relationships, our algorithms, how we've built into existing systems and directly with airlines. Some of that I can't share too much about, but allows us to sort of understand what's available and you know, navigate those waters. What we do see is that the majority of customers really book in sort of the 12 to 20-day range. And in that sort of range, there is a significant amount of inventory that's available. We allow you to book really about 6 hours out till 30 days out. So, you know, in many of our routes, we do have inventory, you know, as soon as 6 hours out. In some routes that are just maybe smaller, like medium-sized airports, there's usually a little less inventory on those routes last minute. But you know, we're constantly working to secure more inventory with new partnerships and whatnot. So it can only, you know, it's going to continue to get better. It's already great, and it's going to continue to get better.
Ricardo asks, what are the influential investors and advisors, or who are the influential investors and advisors?
Yeah, totally.
I'm not sure if he means directly in SkyHi or just in general, but yeah.
Got it. I'm going to take this question as in SkyHi. We've got some great airline advisors on board. You know, some that used to be pricing analysts at major airlines, so that has helped. You know, Kevin Knight, who used to, you know, run departments at United and Etihad, he joined about a year ago, really helped build like the Star Alliance as well as loyalty programs as they exist now. So has a lot of experience in why people remain with airlines and how to keep people really engaged. So there's some of our advisors. We also have advisors on sort of, you know, we touched a little bit earlier about on the influencer side. So we have advisors that have been major music execs and have represent major talent through the years on the entertainment side. Some that have produced probably, you know, most of the movies you've seen in the last 20 years. So access to sort of celebrities on that side, really helping us guide how do we make meaningful, you know, contracts and whatnot with these various storytellers.
That's awesome. And well, we've got a question from Mark. How receptive were the airlines when you started up, and were they easy to get on board?
Airlines are tricky. Kind of gets into, you know, some of those early challenges, and the reality is that the data doesn't lie, right? There are you can look at a lot of the data over the last 30 years and see, you know, issues with how airlines have gone about things, or are not understanding some of the changes in the market that are happening. And as we frame things like that, and airlines start to understand that they essentially have a little less predictability on who's going to be on those planes now, you know, that's meaningful in conversation, you know. So we've really framed things that way of, listen, there are challenges you're facing now that seem to be getting worse or will be getting worse as behavior changes. And what we have is a product that allows people to travel more predictably, which in the course of time is going to be valuable for you. That's really how we've approached it.
I think, yeah, Mark says he likes your response.
Thank you,
what
Mark.
are you most excited for this year? And I'll add to that, and I guess we might make this the last question, but the other thing is, you know, so what are you most excited about this year? And then also, you know, who in Travel Massive are you interested in, most interested in connecting with?
Oh, cool. Good question. Oh man, what am I most excited for this year? You know, I think for us, we're going to see a lot of growth this year. A lot of the things we set up last year were for real scale this year. So I'm really looking forward to, you know, just making this much, much bigger and learning from our customers and you know, sharing some of those learnings, you know, whatever we can to the rest of the travel community, so they can also grow and expand. So that stuff's really interesting to me, especially as a technologist and you know, as sort of a data nerd. Yeah, and I think people in the Travel Massive community, you know, we would love to just chat with people that, you know, who feel like they fit this customer mold. Whether you're a customer now or not, I think for us, really learning about the experiences people want and how they are getting to them really allows us to really, you know, grow the product, expand what we offer, tweak it. So anybody like that, always looking, as well as, you know, people that want to get involved in the investment front. If we, you know, we have a vehicle open, then we can talk about that. So those are what I'd want to connect with now.
And I lied to you, that's actually not the last question, but we'll give Ricardo, if you can have a quick answer to his question, which is, can you explain how peak season works, as in sellout seasons? What seats are always available? Are seats always available even during peak seasons? And that's the last question.
Yeah, totally. We've gone through a few peak seasons, right? We just had you know, heavy travel holiday season in America. We just had, you know, Sundance Film Festival out here. We have South by coming up. You know, there are peak travel moments. And in general, we showcase as much inventory as we can. and those major travel seasons do change the inventory we have. And what we have found is that people are still getting to where they need to go. They're finding it. And sometimes that might be just leaving a day earlier or a day later. But what's interesting about that is that people's behavior is malleable to be able to have the experience that they want. And we can offer that. And as we continue to grow and build our partnerships, that just keeps getting better on the inventory side.
That's awesome. Thank you. I guess while we might wrap up now, and I'm just going to share something on the screen. I want to let people know a little bit more about a few things coming up. But what's the best way for people to get in contact with you? Obviously, they can follow you, give you an upvote on SkyHi. They can follow you on Travel Massive.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe, if you want emails, maybe drop your email address in the chat for people, or just let people know the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, for me, email is usually best. I'm going to drop that right into here. Hit me up on Travel Massive as well, or LinkedIn. And I try to be as responsive as possible. So definitely excited to talk to you all.
I'll just quickly give a little plug for a couple of things coming up. Our next webinar is going to be on the 26th of February with Yuli. They are a company that provides a group tour itinerary platform. It's super cool. They're based in Seattle and Melbourne, but they're actually going to be sharing information about lots of free software tools that tour operators can use to run their business. So that's worth checking out. And then you guys are probably getting hit up a lot on the Travel Massive newsletter, but just in case you're not getting it, please, if you are in Berlin for the ITB or Berlin Travel Festival, join us at Travel Massive Forum on the 6th at Arena Berlin. We're super excited. This is our first global conference, and we've got over 20 speakers in 3 sessions talking about the future of travel and a whole bunch of other things. So I'd love to see you there in person. Rama, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone who's listening today for joining in. Thank you so much for sharing your sort of journey with SkyHi and giving us a little bit more information about your business and your journey. It's super exciting, what you're doing. I'm a huge fan, and hopefully, we've adopted a few more fans of SkyHi with this discussion. But and thank you to everyone who has joined us today and for asking questions. You guys are really sort of super engaged. Thanks again, and hope to see you on our next Travel Massive Live or in person in Berlin. But thanks again.
Thank you, man. Thank you everyone for joining. I love this. This is a great conversation.